So, you found the love of your life. You're happy, they're happy, and you're only thinking about moving to Sweden together. Alrighty then. So, shall we have a blunt conversation about how maybe that is not the most competent decision? Yeah, let's do that. Alrighty then. So, one of the things that you will be faced with will be social isolation. Until you learn the language fluently, not just well, but I mean absolutely fluently, you will be completely socially isolated. You will not be allowed to join conversations, dinner parties, other social events, because nobody wants to accommodate your language handicap. So there's always that to consider. So you can make friends who are also expats, that's fine. There's a large, very lonely expat community in Sweden. So that's always an option, but for the most part, you will be excluded from society until you are fluent in Swedish. And I can tell you that learning the language is exceedingly difficult, especially considering that the people who work for the community and SFI, which is Svenska för invandrare, Swedish for immigrants, they will tell you things like, I don't care if you learn Swedish, I get paid anyways. Yeah, thank you, Headmaster in Stenungsund. That was so lovely for you to tell me. And let's talk about the culture shock. Now, I know that you come from the West more than likely. If you speak English, you probably come from the West. But I can tell you that having Western values is not going to save you from the culture shock. From the fact that at a dinner table they can share one bottle of medium-sized Coca-Cola and have separate glasses. Think about how they are in China and how they serve things with multiple dishes. You know, you might be looking at something and it looks like one serving and you think, oh, maybe that's just for me. Trust me, it's going to be shared around the whole table, and you need separate dishes and anything to avoid contamination. It's little things like that, but also it's big things like, depending upon which Western country you come from, it might be an issue with, say, the new Swedish nationalism. And if you're not Swedish, it doesn't matter if you learn the language, it doesn't matter if your child has been born here and all they speak is Swedish. It's go back to your country and take your spawn with you. There's a lot of interesting things going on with Swedish society at this point, and not much of it is positive, at least not from an immigrant standpoint. So there's always the constant culture shock and finding out something new. Granted, some of the cultural things are funny, and I enjoy the Simla Day, and I enjoy the Cannabala Day, which is Cinnamon Roll Day. And also, you get to dance around the green penis for midsummer. What's not to love about that? Those are fun things with the culture, but also there's this, oh my god, yeah, lagom, the lagom culture, which is pretty much, lagom is just enough. There's no direct translation, but it's just enough. Not too much, not too little, just enough. But there's a culture of lagom where you are just supposed to accept what you're given, be silent, don't complain, and don't strive for more. It's a culture of mediocrity, and I can tell you it's very difficult, and especially if you have a Swedish partner who subscribes to that culture, they'll also have severe issues with communicating with you on a deeper level. So that's going to cause some relationship issues if they subscribe to that kind of culture. And let's see, what else was there? Oh yeah, bad services. Okay, so we have free health care and everything, but just because it's free doesn't mean it's good. And also, you also have social services who are supposed to be helpful. Okay then, let's start off with the healthcare first, because I feel this is something that really affected me. Now, healthcare, if you don't speak fluent Swedish, they're more than likely going to tell you to screw off. They're not going to want to help you. I had a flared rib cage after I gave birth to my son and a apparently dislocated rib. And my doctor told me just to take pain medication for it. Well, I had to do some research for myself and I bought a steel-boned corset. So now my ribs are back in place and I don't have constant pain, though I still occasionally have to wear a corset while I sleep in order to realign things. Or we can talk about the horrible case of sepsis that I got. I still had issues for that for over 2 years and an open wound on my chest for 2 years because they cut me open and then there was no aftercare and they just constantly kept ignoring me and refusing me treatment. And IVO doesn't care. IVO is a service that's meant to oversee like vård and things of that nature. IVO does not care. They will never care. These services that are meant to watch over the quality of care that you receive, they're just there for show. It's propaganda, nothing more. Okay, and so also the dentistry ends at I think you stop receiving free dentistry at 25, and I went there before I was 25 to fix some cavities. They refused to. They said that they were too small, which was a lie. So now I have fractures in a few of my teeth because the cavities were never resolved, and I can't really afford to fix that because it is actually expensive to get your teeth fixed here in Sweden. Yeah, there's no help with that. Now, let's go on to social services. This is for you couples. You couples who want to breed and make the cute babies. Yeah, so when that whole honeymoon syndrome, or whatever you call it, the honeymoon phase, completely just dissolves and you come back to reality and you realize, oh, this doesn't quite work. No, you're too Canadian. You're too Swedish. No thanks. And you already have that little child together. Okay, here's the good news for the Swedes. Because you speak the language fluently and you know the system, you're going to get full custody of the child. Here's the shitty part for the Western partner, the immigrant partner. Social services will not offer you help in any way, shape, or form. They will tell you, go back to your country. Even if you have suffered domestic violence at the hand of your partner, they will tell you to leave your child in Sweden with the violent partner. Just go back to your country and forget it ever happened. They will not let you have custody. So if your partner is bitter with you, you are completely screwed. They will use the language against you. They will twist everything that you say. I don't even think they actually listen when you speak in English. Maybe to just one word here or there. So anybody who told you that everybody speaks English anyways, well, they were an idiot, because they might speak English, but I don't think they fully understand it. And even if they understand it, I don't think they really care. Okay, so that's lovely social services who will use the language against you, tell you to go back to your country, leave your child with your partner, and just will deny you any and all help. That's lovely. And let's go on to the nationalism. okay, so you're so in love and you're a native Swede and you want to bring your partner over to make the, have Swedish babies and everything. Oh, that's lovely. Except your children aren't Swedish at that point. They don't give a crap if you're white, you're both white. It just doesn't matter because one of you was Swedish and the other was from a different country. So your child is not Swedish and will not be accepted by a large portion of Swedes, actually, which is really strange and kind of sick and scary. And also, let's talk about your everyday life and how this new rise of crazy nationalism will affect you as the immigrant partner. You will be grocery shopping and you will go ask an employee in Swedish if they can help you find something. They will look at you like you're crazy and go, "What are you saying?" Sorry. Jak förstår jag inte dig. They will not want to understand you if you do not speak fluent Swedish. And then they will switch over to English. And if they are not being condescending towards you, they will be outright hostile and aggressive. I've had many people who have literally verbally assaulted me for not speaking fluent Swedish. And then I've had people verbally assault me because they are offended that I approach them in English. So I approach somebody in English, that's offensive. We speak Swedish in Sweden. I approach somebody in Swedish and it's just like, go back to your country. You don't speak the language. You don't belong here. Thank you for that. So it's not good enough no matter what language you try to speak to people, no matter how respectful you try to be to people. It's just it's a nightmare. It really is when it comes to having to be part of Swedish society and you are not a native Swede. And sweetheart, there ain't no white privilege. It doesn't matter what color you are if you're not a native Swede. What is it they say? Dra åt helvete! Something like that. Isn't that what they say? Yeah. Thank you, Sweden, for that. Okay, and what was the other one? If it's not the crazy nationalists who constantly treat you like dirt, there's also, oh yeah, let's talk about the police force here for a moment. If your partner decides to beat you or rape you, unless you have physical evidence on your person, they will not listen to you at all. And even if you have physical evidence on your person, if there's not a witness or video evidence, there is no case. So it is the wild, wild west. Even if you are just a tourist, if you get raped, well, you better have videotaped that shit or else nobody cares. And even if you have it videotaped, more than likely they'll say, well, you see how her leg was positioned right there? I think that's just a sign of consent. Yeah. It doesn't matter that she was saying no right over here or crying hysterically. Just this body language right here, it just says to me, oh yeah, I'm into it. I wanted it. I kid you not, the insanity here is palpable. All you have to do is read up on the case with the American rapper who came to Sweden. They videotaped the assault and the fact that this Afghan druggie was attacking him and broke the headphones on the bodyguard's head. But, you know, it didn't matter if he defended himself. People just saw it as, yeah. I don't even know. I don't know what to say anymore about it. It's just, please do not come here naively thinking that just because you love your partner that it will work out. It will not work out. Sweden is becoming highly nationalistic. It is suffering from the lagom culture, the culture of mediocrity. There is no open communication. There is no problem solving. There is just frustration and sadness. Oh, and also the job market is absolutely crap. The majority of unemployed people are going to be immigrants. So unless you are extremely educated in your field, forget about getting a job. They won't even let you clean toilets in Sweden unless you're fluent in Swedish. And even if they put in the ad Swedish or English, what that really means is we just want the illegal migrants who will be halfway paid through Arbetsförmedlingen, so we only have to pay them half. So if you're a legal immigrant, you came here legally, you will not get a job here. So take all of this with a grain of salt, because my experience for the last 5 years has been absolutely miserable, whether it be with social services, with the police, with healthcare, with society at large. It has been completely negative and soul-crushing and horrible beyond words. And now I'm stateless and I cannot leave this country. So please really think hard before you willingly move here. I know that it sounds so wonderful when your partner talks about it. I believed my partner because I was a 21-year-old dumbass and he was a much older man, and I just thought he knew more about his own country, his own society. He only knew the propaganda that the GP news gave him. He knew nothing about his own country. He knew nothing about the system. And it has just been miserable. Anyways, I would just like to say in closing that although my experience has been wholly negative, and I have spoken to many expats who have been trapped here through custody with their Swedish partner and are also miserable, there are still some very nice things here in Sweden. There are still some very nice people, but it's going to be very few and far between if you're an immigrant. So I'm happy to talk about the great things about Sweden, but nobody talks about the bad things. Nobody talks about how hard it is to be an immigrant. Nobody talks about the social isolation. Nobody talks about the constant, never-ending abuse. Nobody talks about reality. So talk with your partner. I'd recommend that you come here on a trial basis, like 2 to 3 months, and live here first. Try out the job market. You don't really have to actually get the job, but send out applications and expect never to hear back from people. Talk to different services. Interact with the society that you intend to include yourself in. And if you feel like it's going to work out, then do it. Give it a chance. But if you're not highly educated and you don't have a strong social network and you don't have a lot of the language, I'd really reconsider, because it's not an easy life and you're likely going to have to go back to your country in the end, unless you're lucky enough like me to become stateless, where as in you just get trapped.